Are you already counting down the days until spring so you can finally kick off your garden season? What if I told you you're actually missing out on some crucial time? The smartest gardeners start planting their seeds while everyone else is still busy raking up the fall leaves. Sounds crazy, right? Today, we are going to debunk the biggest gardening myth and reveal the top 7 crops you should categorically be planting before winter, not in the spring. Get ready to be amazed. This secret technique doesn't just promise you the earliest harvest, it makes your plants exponentially stronger. Stick with us to the end, and you'll discover how minimal effort now can guarantee maximum results next spring, making you the envy of the entire neighbourhood. So let's break down the actual magic behind fall or winter sowing. It's much more than just a set it and forget it technique. It's an ingenious way to leverage the inherent power of Mother Nature. Here's how it works. Seeds planted in the fall undergo natural stratification, which simply means they get hardened. The cold winter and the thawing snow in spring create the perfect environment. They absorb moisture exactly when they should and spring to life at the very first opportunity, outpacing anything you sow in the spring by 2, even 3 weeks. These plants develop an ironclad immune system right from day one. They laugh in the face of late spring frosts. Their root systems are robust, and they are far more resilient against pests and diseases. But the key benefit? You free up valuable time in the spring when every minute in the garden is precious. Instead of messing around with tiny seeds, you'll be admiring a lush carpet of established seedlings. Kicking off our countdown is the undisputed king of fall planting, overwintering garlic. A lot of people sow it simply out of tradition, but few realise just how much of a strategic advantage it gives you. Fall planted garlic has enough time to establish strong roots before the first hard freeze, but not enough time to sprout. It spends the whole winter gathering energy beneath the snow, ready to burst out with powerful green shoots right at the start of spring. This process results in bulbs that are significantly larger, juicier, and far more pungent than the spring varieties you plant later. Plus, you harvest fall garlic by midsummer, clearing the bed early for a second crop, like quick-growing greens. It's a literal harvest conveyor belt. Imagine getting double the yield from the exact same patch of dirt. The key secret, however, is timing your planting perfectly. You need to get those cloves in the ground about 3 to 4 weeks before the first reliable hard frost. This gives the individual cloves enough time to establish roots. Plant too early and they might sprout and get damaged. Plant too late and they won't root and will simply freeze out. So keep a close eye on that long-term weather forecast. If you want truly massive heads of winter garlic, the secret lies in proper preparation. Don't skimp on this step. The effort will pay off handsomely. Select only the biggest, healthiest cloves from the outer ring of the bulb for planting. Before they go into the ground, sterilisation is essential. You can use a solution of potassium permanganate, copper sulfate, or specialised organic biopesticides. Prepare your garden bed well in advance. Incorporate compost or well-rotted manure, but absolutely never use fresh manure. Fresh manure is a guaranteed recipe for fungal diseases. Plant the cloves root side down, about 5 to 7 centimetres deep, or roughly 2 to 3 inches. Space them 10 to 15 centimetres apart, which is 4 to 6 inches. This extra room ensures the mature bulbs have plenty of space to swell. Once planted, mulch the bed generously with peat, fallen leaves, or evergreen boughs. Mulching provides crucial insulation against harsh frost and helps the soil retain moisture come springtime. In the spring, as soon as the first green shoots emerge, be sure to give your garlic a nitrogen boost. You can use a manure tea or urea to give the plants a powerful head start for rapid growth. Next up on our list, onion sets. That's right, you absolutely can and should plant them in the fall for a winter crop. Many gardeners worry they'll freeze out or bolt, but those fears are usually based on misunderstandings or poor planting techniques. Planting onions this way lets you harvest 3 to 4 weeks earlier than usual. The bulbs themselves tend to be larger and healthier because the plant develops a robust root system before the summer heat hits, and crucially, before the onion maggot, the gardener's main enemy, becomes active. In the spring, these overwintered onions barely need any watering. The melting snow and spring rain provide all the moisture they need. Think of the time and effort you save. For successful fall planting, choose specific overwintering varieties. They are designed to be much more cold hardy. But the biggest secret of all lies in the size of the set you choose. You want the smallest possible sets, often measuring less than ½ inch or about 1 centimetre in diameter. This tiny size is crucial because these sets won't bolt and they will produce the largest, healthiest bulbs. If you have larger sets, they are much more likely to bolt, so it's best to save those for spring planting if you simply want early green onions. The technique for planting overwintering onions is actually quite similar to planting garlic. You should prepare your bed in a sunny spot that won't get waterlogged or flooded in the spring. Incorporate organic matter and a complete mineral fertilizer, focusing on blends high in phosphorus and potassium. These elements are crucial for boosting winter hardiness and promoting strong root development. Plant the onion sets about 1½ to 2 inches deep, ensuring there is roughly 1 inch of soil covering the neck of the bulb. Space the sets 4 inches apart. After planting, just like with garlic, it's highly recommended to mulch the bed. This mulch won't just insulate your planting for the winter. In the spring, it will also suppress weed growth, which saves you a lot of time on maintenance. In early spring, as soon as the snow melts, you can carefully rake back the mulch. This allows the soil to warm up faster, prompting the onions to start growing sooner. Apply the first nitrogen feed once you see fresh green shoots appearing. By following these simple steps, you are guaranteed a superb harvest of large, healthy onions, often before other gardeners have even prepared their beds for spring planting. Let's talk carrots. Sowing them in the late fall for an early spring crop. This is truly the masterstroke of the savvy, innovative gardener. Many people consider this technique risky, but in reality, it is one of the most reliable ways to secure a super early harvest of incredibly sweet and juicy root vegetables. Carrots planted this way will germinate the minute the snow disappears. The seedlings immediately capitalize on all that crucial spring moisture, allowing them to rapidly gain size and mass. Critically, these plants suffer less from their main nemesis, the carrot rust fly, because by the time the pest makes its mass appearance, your carrots are already well established and sturdy. As a result, you will be harvesting by the end of June, a time when early carrots are fetching premium prices at the farmer's market. You can be enjoying fresh roots straight from the soil, while those planted in the spring are only just starting to form their tops. Now granted, these carrots aren't meant for long-term winter storage. They are purely for the joy of summer eating. But isn't that the ultimate reward of gardening? Being able to pick and eat fresh produce straight from the garden whenever you want? The key to successful fall sowing of carrots lies in choosing the right time and preparing the garden bed properly. You should only sow when the soil surface has started to freeze and temperatures are consistently hovering around freezing or slightly below zero. Sowing too early while the ground is still warm risks premature germination, and the seedlings will inevitably be killed by the subsequent hard frosts. That's why you must prepare the bed in advance while the soil is still soft and workable. Thoroughly dig it over, loosen the soil, and create shallow furrows, about 1 inch deep. Then you wait. Crucially, have a supply of dry soil or a mix of peat and sand, ready to cover the furrows. Once the ideal cold snap arrives, your D-Day, so to speak, simply scatter the dry seeds into the frozen furrows and cover them immediately with the dry soil you set aside earlier. You'll need to increase the seeding rate by about 20 to 30% compared to what you use in spring, as some seeds naturally won't survive the harsh winter months. And whatever you do, do not water them. The seeds must remain completely dormant until spring arrives. This simple yet highly effective method guarantees you a fresh carrot harvest up to a month earlier than traditional spring planting. Beets are another fantastic root vegetable for overwinter sowing. The principle is exactly the same as with carrots. You get a super early harvest ready for summer consumption. You can start harvesting the first tender roots by the end of June, just as they reach ping pong ball size. They are perfect for summer borscht, fresh salads, or just roasting. And young beet greens are a delicacy all their own. A real powerhouse of vitamins you can add to soups and salads. The main concern many gardeners have, however, is bolting. It's true that some varieties, when sown over winter, will bolt or go to seed without forming a usable root. But this is easy to avoid. First, choose special cold-hardy, bolt-resistant varieties, such as Podzimniaya A474 or Kolodostoikaya 19. Second, just like with carrots, you must sow into slightly frozen ground to prevent any premature germination during a warm spell in the autumn. Follow these guidelines and you'll eliminate the bolting problem entirely. Let's dive deeper into the proper methods for sowing beets before winter, since this process has its own specific tricks involved. Beets thrive in fertile, loose and pH-neutral soil. That's why we prepare the planting bed in the fall, adding compost and wood ash. The ash is key, as it not only helps neutralize soil acidity, but also acts as an excellent source of potassium and microelements. The planting furrows should be about 3 to 4 centimeters deep. Keep in mind that beet seeds are actually small seed clusters, and multiple plants can sprout from just one, so don't sow them too densely, or you'll be stuck doing tedious thinning when spring arrives. Sow the dry seeds directly into the frozen ground, cover them with dry potting mix or soil, and then apply a generous layer of mulch on top. In the spring, once the seedlings emerge, thin them immediately, aiming for a spacing of 5 to 7 centimeters between plants. The second thinning takes place once the young beet roots reach about 2 to 3 centimeters in diameter. The plants you remove during this stage are perfect for eating. You get your first vitamin greens and young vegetables right then and there. Getting an early beet harvest is easy, provided you remember these little secrets. Now let's talk about the true speed demon of our garden plots, the radish. Who doesn't love that satisfying crunch of a fresh, juicy radish right at the start of the spring gardening season? By sowing your seeds in the fall, or overwintering them, you can harvest these beauties record early, often by late April or the beginning of May. Just imagine having your own radishes, not store-bought ones, ready right in time for the early May holidays. The natural spring moisture and the still mild sun create the perfect environment for forming those succulent, tender root vegetables. When we sow in the spring, however, we often run right into hot weather. The radish quickly bolts, becoming woody and bitter. Fall sowing completely solves this issue. What's more, the early spring season lacks the dreaded cabbage flea beetle, the radish's worst enemy, which can riddle the foliage and completely destroy your harvest. So by planting radishes in the fall, you not only gain a massive time advantage, but also bypass the entire pest control battle. This is truly the ideal method for anyone who wants that very first crunchy vitamin boost straight from their own garden. For successful late fall sowing of radishes, make sure you choose early maturing, bolt-resistant varieties. Excellent examples include French Breakfast or Sparkler. The actual planting scheme is similar to what you would use for carrots or beets. Prepare your bed ahead of time in a sunny location, creating shallow furrows, about 3/4 of an inch deep. Wait until the ground surface is well chilled or has caught the first light frost. Then, scatter the seeds but try not to sow them too densely. As with carrots, you should slightly increase the seeding rate when planting in the winter. Cover the seeds with dry soil and lightly tamp the surface down. In the spring, as soon as the snow melts, you can significantly accelerate the process. Set up hoops over the bed and cover them with garden fleece or row cover. This simple technique speeds up both germination and the final harvest by a week or even 10 days. You will be amazed at how quickly the root crops swell and mature under this protection. The result is an ultra-early, clean product, grown without any chemicals, reaching maturity at the absolute earliest possible time. Isn't that every gardener's dream? Try this method just once, and I guarantee you will never sow radishes in the spring again. And let's not forget the greens: dill, parsley, cilantro, spinach, and leaf lettuce. All these varieties are perfect candidates for fall or winter sowing. Greens that spend the winter tucked away in the soil are incredibly aromatic, juicy, and tender. They literally start sprouting right out from under the snow, often before the trees have even budded. You'll be enjoying your first fresh, vitamin-rich harvest, while your neighbours are only just starting to turn over their soil. This is especially important for dill and cilantro, which are notorious for bolting quickly once spring temperatures start rising. Fall sowing greatly extends your harvest window. The same is true for spinach. It thrives in cool weather, and the largest, juiciest leaves are produced in the early spring months. And fall-sown, flat-leaf parsley will give you usable greens much earlier than the plants that successfully overwintered from the previous year. The technique for winter sowing herbs and greens is incredibly simple. Since the seeds are typically quite fine, you must prepare the garden bed carefully, ensuring the soil is smooth and well tilled. Make the planting rows quite shallow, just about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch deep, or 1.5 to 2 centimetres. You can sow these seeds fairly densely, particularly when planting dill. And again, here is the golden rule: sow the completely dry seeds into soil that is beginning to freeze or firm up, and cover them only with dry soil. Do not water them. Come spring, these herbs will require virtually no effort from you, apart from perhaps a bit of weeding. The natural moisture in the soil will be enough. You simply come out, cut, and enjoy your fresh harvest. This is a real treat for anyone who loves fresh salads and wants to enjoy those early spring vitamins as soon as possible. By sowing your greens in the fall, you secure a constant supply of healthy herbs for your family throughout the spring, saving both time and money in the process. Try setting aside just a small plot for these winter sowings, and you'll quickly see how incredibly convenient and effective this technique truly is. Many gardeners are surprised to learn that you can sow seeds for certain flowers, not just vegetables, right before winter. This is a fantastic way to achieve earlier, more abundant blooms while also cultivating stronger, more resilient plants. Flowers that undergo this natural cold stratification process germinate sooner, last longer, and produce much fuller flowers. They are also more resistant to disease and unpredictable weather conditions. Winter sowing is ideal for many annuals that naturally self-seed in the garden. These include, for instance, calendula, cosmos, California poppies, cornflowers, candytuft, alyssum, delphiniums, and lupines. Picture this: in the spring, as soon as the snow melts, you'll have robust flower seedlings popping up. They will be ready to bloom several weeks ahead of the plants you start indoors, or sow later in the spring. Your garden will be one of the first in the neighbourhood to burst into colour. And this technique isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it's also hugely beneficial for the vegetable patch. For example, calendula is known to repel many common pests and serves as an excellent green manure. Winter sowing of flowers is essentially the same process as planting vegetables. First, choose your location, prepare the soil, and either make small furrows, or if the seeds are tiny, just scatter them lightly over the surface. The key is to sow them on lightly frozen ground to prevent premature germination. After planting, cover the seeds with a thin layer of dry peat moss or sand. You should also increase the seeding density, as not all seeds may survive the harsh winter conditions. In the spring, once the seedlings emerge, all you need to do is thin them out, ensuring the strongest plants have ample space to develop. This technique works wonders for creating naturalized flower displays, such as a wildflower meadow or a Moorish lawn. Simply mix the seeds of various flowers and scatter them across the chosen plot. Come springtime, you'll be greeted by a stunning carpet of blooms. This is a fantastic alternative to indoor seed starting, which demands intensive care, precious space, and often specialised grow lights. Let nature do the heavy lifting for you. Let's talk about parsnips. This root vegetable is truly underestimated by many gardeners, and that's a real shame. Parsnips have a unique spicy flavour and aroma, and they are incredibly healthy. However, there is one characteristic that often deters people. Their seeds are notoriously slow to germinate. This is because they are covered in natural essential oils. If you sow them in the spring, you might wait a very long time for seedlings, sometimes up to a month, and they often sprout unevenly. Pre-winter sowing, often called overwintering, completely solves this issue. Over the winter months, the essential oils are naturally washed off the seeds by rain and moisture. Come spring, they germinate quickly and uniformly. This method results in robust plants and large, perfectly shaped root vegetables. What's more, parsnips that have survived a deep frost are generally thought to be much sweeter and more aromatic. In this specific case, pre-winter sowing isn't just an alternative method, it's arguably the single best way to ensure a great harvest without unnecessary fuss. If you haven't grown parsnips before, start with the fall sowing method. Parsnips thrive in a sunny location with deep, well-worked, fertile soil. Just like carrots, they really don't appreciate fresh organic matter, like new manure or unfinished compost. Prepare the garden bed the preceding fall, making shallow furrows about 2 to 3 centimetres deep. Planting times are similar to other early crops. Sow them as soon as the soil is workable, ideally while light frosts are still possible. Parsnip seeds are fairly large, which makes it easy to space them correctly, about 5 to 7 centimetres apart. Cover the seeds with dry soil and apply a layer of mulch. Parsnips will be among the first crops to emerge in the spring. Maintenance is minimal, mostly just weeding and keeping the soil loose. They are quite drought tolerant, but they will certainly appreciate a good watering during severe heat spells. Harvest parsnips late in the fall, ideally after the first hard frost. That cold snap is crucial because it helps them convert starches into maximum sugars. They store beautifully, lasting almost the entire winter without any loss of flavour or quality. Make sure to dedicate a corner of your garden to this wonderful root vegetable. You definitely won't be disappointed. Let's wrap up by discussing the key mistakes you need to avoid during late fall or pre-winter sowing. Mistake number 1, poor timing. If you rush and plant into warm soil, the seeds will germinate only to be killed by the coming winter cold. If you wait too long and sow into deeply frozen ground or snow, the seeds won't properly anchor in the soil and will be washed away by spring meltwater. The ideal moment is when the top layer of soil has already frozen, but the daytime temperature is still hovering around freezing. Mistake number 2, choosing the wrong location. Pre-winter sowing beds should be placed in elevated sunny spots where spring meltwater won't pool or stand stagnant. In low-lying areas, your seeds can easily drown and rot away. So, choose your location carefully. Ideally, look for a slight southern slope, which will help the soil warm up much faster in the spring. The third common mistake is watering. Remember this once and for all. You never water fall-sown seeds. Your goal is to send the seeds into winter hibernation, not to encourage them to sprout. The moisture from the melting snow in the spring will be more than enough for them. Mistake number 4 is inadequate soil preparation. The seedbed must be dug, loosened, and levelled well in advance while the soil is still soft and workable. Trying to tackle this job once the ground is frozen is both pointless and back-breaking. And finally, mistake number 5, skimping on seeds. When sowing for the winter, always increase your seeding rate by 20, 30, or even 50%. This is your insurance policy against a particularly harsh winter. It's inevitable that some seeds will be lost, and that's perfectly normal. It's much better to thin out dense sprouts in the spring than to end up with an empty patch. By avoiding these simple mistakes, you are virtually guaranteed a successful harvest. Another crucial aspect is choosing the right varieties. Not every variety is suitable for winter sowing. Focus on specific overwintering or cold hardy types. Seed manufacturers usually list this information right on the packaging. Generally, these are early maturing varieties that are resistant to bolting. For example, suitable carrot varieties include Nantes, Force, or Lucy Nostrovskaya 13. For beets, look for Podzimnyaya A474. And for onions, you'll need specialised overwintering hybrids. Always read the variety description carefully before buying. This will save you a lot of disappointment later. And don't be afraid to experiment. Set aside a few small test beds and try sowing different crops and varieties over the winter. This is how you'll figure out which ones work best, specifically for your climate and your soil. Nothing beats personal experience in the garden. To wrap up our main discussion, let's once again emphasise the core concept. Winter sowing isn't some exotic experiment. It's a wise, logical gardening technique, truly dictated by nature itself. It allows us to work in harmony with nature's cycles, not against them. We utilise the winter dormancy period to prime the seeds for an explosive spring start. The result? Stronger, healthier plants, and significantly earlier harvests. This means we not only extend the season for fresh vegetables, but also dramatically reduce labour during the frantic spring rush. Think of it as an investment of your autumn time that pays generous spring dividends. This is the ideal method for smart, and maybe slightly lazy, gardeners who value their time and want maximum results with minimal effort. So, this fall, don't rush to close the garden season. The real fun is just beginning. So let's wrap things up. Today, we've established that autumn isn't the end. It's actually the beginning of a whole new gardening season. Winter sowing of garlic, onions, carrots, beets, radishes, greens, and even flowers isn't just possible, it's often the single best way to achieve fantastic results. Just picture this for a moment. May rolls around. Your neighbours are still looking at bare soil. But you're already crunching on your own radishes, tossing a salad with the freshest spinach and dill, and enjoying the first burst of vibrant blooms. That's not magic. It's smart planning and working in harmony with nature's laws. You get strong, naturally hardened plants. You save precious time in the spring, and you get a harvest several weeks ahead of everyone else. This is truly the game changer that can fundamentally revolutionise your approach to gardening. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. I truly hope you learned something new and valuable today. If you did, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our future gardening secrets and tips. Now, I have a question for you. Which crops have you already tried winter sowing? Or maybe you have your own specific tips and hacks. Be sure to share your experience in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and build the most helpful gardening community possible.